"Whoa there, friends. No need to get all riled up on me now," the human said, raising both hands in a placating gesture as he leaned back in his chair, attempting to distance himself from the agitated aliens and their airborne saliva. After a moment of frenzied gurgles and what was unmistakably untranslatable insults, the semi-aquatic aliens finally calmed their anger, much to the relief of the human, who was now safe from the proverbial splash zone. Leaning his chair back onto the ground, he flashed them a cocky grin. "What I meant was that while, plasma casters and Mac rifles are technically the superior weapons, modern body armor screws it all up. Every goddamn cycle, you'll gotta go and buy the brand new iteration of all your pea shooters and tinfoil hats. And for what? So the next guy with the BFG 3.0 doesn't turn your fishy asses into sashimi? And that's all 'cause your brand spanking new body armor system 2.0, which you spent half your hard-earned credits on last cycle, is now obsolete to the new 3.0 model." The human was clearly bitter about something as he threw back the rest of the dark brown ethanol he had been slowly sipping until now, letting the synthetic crystal cup smack back down onto the table as he breathed out a deep, satisfied sigh that caused the three aliens to flinch back from the harsh sting of the airborne ethanol. The human looked back at the three aliens from behind the wide rim of his hat, sighing again as he poured himself another glass with a scuffed and dented silver flask he produced from his coat. "Look, I'm not saying you Westnecks don't make good weapon tech. You'll really do produce some damn fine gear, genuine technological marvels, real sci-fi space magic. I'm just saying we humans got one thing figured out that y'all don't, at least from what I've seen out here, and trust me, I've been around. I'd bet you that I could still smoke any jackass who's thinking they're hot shit because they're wearing one of them fancy-ass flex fiber nano armor suits y'all are so proud of." The human sat back after stowing away his flask in the large overcoat he was wearing, crossing his arms as he sipped from the glass once again. "Ha! And what would a human know about advanced weaponry? We Westnecks have been the galaxy's leaders in advanced warfare technology since before your kind even left your home system. So, human, enlighten us on what you primitives have so-called figured out." The largest of the three Westnecks taunted in his gurgling voice, more saliva being spit across the table as they all laughed at the human. The human, in turn, simply sat calmly with his arm extended away from the table to save his drink from any unwanted mixers falling in. "Well," he said with a smirk, "if you really want to know." Pushing his long coat to the side, the human reached below the table and produced a large metal object that made a hefty thud as it was placed on the table before them. "What in the deep reefs is this supposed to be?" one of them asked, as the human's smirk widened into a massive shit-eating grin. He replied, "Why, gentlemen, this you see before you is a one-of-a-kind customized Smith & Wesson 2153 double-action revolver, sitting at an impressive 2.5 pounds of modern ultra-lightweight stainless Martian alloy with a beautiful 6-inch barrel." The human picked up the weapon and removed a large cylinder of what was clearly some sort of primitive ammunition. "But this is what really makes her special. A .50 S&W, 700 grain, armor-piercing depleted uranium bullet, all wrapped up nicely in this here nano-forged cartridge. And it doesn't stop there." The human loaded the cartridge back into the massive gun, snapping the cylinder closed with a flick of his wrist. Being the crazy deadly beauty that she is, she also sports a micro-inertial compensation generator field, all housed neatly in the grip, meaning this can of ass-whooping shoots like a low-cal pistol, which translates to, "I shoot pretty damn fast and straight with this baby." The human finished his presentation and slid his piece back into the holster at his hip, still grinning at the three silent aliens. At least, they were silent for about 3 seconds before they burst into roaring laughter at the human's expense once again, who was now very clearly unamused and disappointed at their reaction as their saliva hit his face. "A powder-based gun?" one scoffed. "Did you seriously just claim that a primitive and useless thing like that can do anything to our advanced tech? Oh, you poor, stupid primitive. If your kind truly believes that, then I don't think any sane species will vote to let you into the Federation Council. In fact, I don't think they would anyway." Their gurgling laughter roared even louder as the human wiped the spit off his face, making sure to place a hand over the top of his drink. After a few long moments, the three aliens calmed back down, and the human spoke once again. Laugh all you want, but your body armor tech is made with nanofibers to absorb and dissipate heat from plasma-based weapons, not kinetic impacts. And the personal shields are only calibrated against Mac rifle rounds that are moving at ridiculous speeds. Nothing quite like what I got here, the human said, patting his holster and shrugging. The largest Westneck laughed again. You honestly think that, don't you? The alien was cut off as the door burst open and the hulking frame of a Ferraris came charging in, knocking down a terrified bystander in the process. Move aside, whelps, before I rip you to shreds. It snarled. The human leaned back into his chair, pulling the brim of his hat back over his eyes as he silently watched the massive alien make its way toward the bar, not failing to notice the all-too-familiar trophies hanging from its neck. The crowd parted in fear of incurring the wrath of the galaxy's strongest and most brutal species, who also happened to be wearing the latest full-body nanofiber combat armor. A truly terrifying sight to most species. As the Ferraris passed his table, the lone human shifted his seat into the path of the beast at the last second, causing the human to spill his drink onto the leg of the Ferraris. Oops, the human said as he stood. Sorry there, bud. Didn't mean. His voice was cut off as the Ferrari's claws gripped around the human's neck, causing his hat to fall to the ground. You sub-sapient creature. You dare? I've fought and killed countless of your miserable kind before. What's stopping me from ripping your throat out? It boomed. Let me hear you beg for your life, and maybe I'll grant you a quick death. The beast leaned down to flash its massive razor-sharp teeth in the human's face. An audible click rang out in the deafening silence as the human looked up into the eyes of the monster and grinned. Are those level 4 plates? He asked. What? The Ferraris was cut off as a boom echoed through the confines of the small bar, causing many of the more sound-sensitive species to cover their ears and cry out in pain. Razor-sharp claws released from the human's throat as the Ferraris staggered backward, gasping as green blood spilled onto the floor from a gaping hole in its stomach. Impossible! It cried in pain and sheer disbelief. How could a human, how? It bellowed before coughing up blood and falling to its knees, now looking up at the small human as he casually picked his hat up off the ground and looked down on the beast. Countless, huh? The human said as he leveled his six-shooter at the Ferrari's head. Seems you never fought an American before. Have you? Boom! Another thunderous shot rang through the bar as the back half of the Ferrari's head disappeared, gore erupting outward like a volcano. In the ringing silence that followed, the human looked around at the terrified patrons, all staring at him, flashing a toothy grin at the 3 Westnecks still frozen at the table, all of them going noticeably pale under his cool gaze. He holstered his weapon. He reached into his coat for a device that everyone in the bar instantly recognized as a bounty puck, all remaining perfectly still as he bent down and scanned the dead Ferrari's pirate. An audible bing sounded as the puck flashed green. Stowing the bounty puck back into his jacket pocket, the human tossed a handful of credits onto the table before walking out the door without a single word. Shell-shocked patrons stared as the doors closed behind him. The silence was only broken when someone blurted out, "What the hell is an American?"